You're listening to the Start a New Show, episode 13 with Symbol Sang.
Does your work energize you? Does it make your impact on the world? Welcome to Start Anew, the show that looks beyond success into freedom, fulfillment, and your passion-driven career. Join your host, Symbol Sang, for inspiring stories and bite-sized training to help you start anew with clarity. And now, here's Symbol.
Hey there, starters. Thank you for joining in for another Motivation Monday. In a moment, you and I will be joined by my guest, Caroline Dowd-Higgins. She's a public speaker, a sought-after media expert on career-related topics, and she has her own podcast and YouTube channel about career and wellness for women. She's also the author of the bestseller, This Is Not the Career I Ordered. Now, this book is part strategy, part inspiration, and I highly recommend it to anyone who's feeling dissatisfied with their current career. Today, I will be asking Caroline to give us a glimpse into her life when she was an opera singer, tell us why she decided to quit that career, and how she figured out what to do next. Caroline, hello, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Symbol. So good to be with you today.
Caroline, it's an honor to have you on the show. And I'm really looking forward to talking to you about some of the exciting stuff that you're up to today. But before we get into that, give us a glimpse into your life when you're an opera singer.
Well, Symbol, it was an amazing journey. It was always a passion of mine to be a performer. And after college, I had that great opportunity. I studied music at university and I was an opera singer and I sang throughout Europe and the United States for about 10 years and absolutely loved that career until it stopped loving me. And I say that because the economy shifted and it became difficult for me to really sustain that career economically. And I was at a crossroads in my life thinking, what else would I do? How would I define myself and how I would literally start anew? So the title of your podcast is incredibly apropos for my life.
You say that you found it difficult to sustain your opera career. Tell us a bit more about that. What were some of the challenges associated with your career as an opera singer?
Yeah, it's a really good question. You know, the reality is I live in the United States. So my husband and I are home based in the United States, and I was working and living abroad. So essentially, I was sustaining, with my husband, two different households, which in and of itself is expensive. And also, as a performing artist, in this case, an opera singer, you never stop taking voice lessons. You work with coaches and accompanists. So there's an investment in your art form as well, and a lot of travel. And as many of the listeners may or may not know, in the arts, you're on your own. You don't have the benefits of a company that might provide you with retirement or with healthcare, for example. Some do, but those are very rare positions. So it's a gig economy. You're auditioning for a job, and then you do that job, and every 6 weeks, you're auditioning for another job. And although I love my music and love my art and still do and still perform, it's not my livelihood anymore because I found that lifestyle, feast-to-famine, if you will, was exhausting. And it really caused me to appreciate my art in a very different way. And it became less exciting. And I'm not daunted by hard work, but I was daunted by the fact that I really couldn't control my earning and my solvency as an artist. So that precipitated a change, and that was okay.
Now, you've mentioned a lot of triggers or symptoms that are telling you it's time to start anew. You're traveling a lot, you're exhausted, you're away from family, and it's a feast-to-famine lifestyle. Was there a particular moment you remember when you decided enough is enough?
Yeah, in fact, I remember it like it was yesterday. And I retell this story a lot when I'm out in the world public speaking, because I think it's important for women to understand it's okay to have that low point and realize there's got to be a better way. And I had just come home from Germany from an extended several months away. And I was sitting on the stairs in my home with my husband, and I just had a meltdown, and I was crying, and I said, this isn't where I want to be professionally, personally. I miss being with you. I miss living in our home together and enjoying each other's company. Skype is wonderful, but it's hard to have that kind of a relationship long distance. And I said, it's just not gratifying anymore. And it was really a turning point for me, because I realized I was ready for a change, because I had hit bottom, if you will. And it was a great opportunity for me to say, I don't need to suffer. I deserve to be happy. I'm ready to be happy. What's next?
So now you know that you want something different for a career, but did you know exactly what it was going to be?
I didn't. And I'll be really candid. That was a scary, scary time for me, because I was so laser beam focused. As an opera singer, I was trained in so many different languages. I knew all of this different repertoire, very niche. I knew exactly what I was doing in the musical realm, but how did I parlay those skills into something else? That was the big question. And happily, people came forward, mentors, coaches, friends, family, and said, there's so much more that you do well. Let's look at this from a different perspective. And they really coached me through this career development process. And it's ironic, because I fell into the world of career development, which is my second act career, rather by accident, because I had to go through this process myself. It wasn't something that came easily until other people helped me unpack the other skills and qualities that I could use in my professional life that were different than my musical world.
Caroline, now that you have a lot more self-awareness about your transferable skills, what is the next step you take?
Well, that self-awareness piece is huge, because so often it is, and I think we're both in agreement on that. It's amazing to me how many women in particular, and I'm sure some men as well, go from one thing to the other, just thinking about the job title and perhaps the salary. And those are important, don't get me wrong, but they don't take that moment to get quiet and really think, what do I need? What do I want in my life? What's working and what's not? So you mentioned self-reflection. That's the most important process for anyone contemplating something different, contemplating any change, starting anew. Where am I and where do I want to go?
Starters, I'll echo what Caroline said. Take a moment to get quiet with yourself and think about who you are and what you want from life. To help you do just that, I've created a free self-awareness toolkit for you that you can download at letsstartanew.com. Caroline, now that you've had some time for reflection, where does your journey take you next?
Well, it's been lovely. And I must say, I've been well ensconced in the career development world, and that is my new profession for many years now. And I've had the great fortune and honor and privilege of working with individuals, very specifically women, who are wanting to reinvent. Many of them completely changed careers, similar to me, in that they were doing one thing that they were trained in and took a chance, a risk to try something new that played to other strengths. Others jumped in the entrepreneurial pool and decided to flex those muscles, and many made smaller tweaks along the way. So by day, I will tell you my profession is many layered. I am a career coach, I'm a public speaker, I'm an author, and I'm also a consultant. And I go into organizations and I do a lot of training and development with professionals so I can help them thrive. Because I believe everybody deserves to be happy in their career and thrive. Life is short. You shouldn't be suffering in silence.
Caroline, I know you're having a lot of fun juggling a portfolio career, but let's take a few steps back and break it down for our listeners. What were some of the strategic steps you took to go from being an opera singer to a career coach today?
Yeah. Yeah. So I needed to explore what else is out there. What are the types of things that I enjoy doing? I needed to really assess my values. And as you might imagine, leaving the performing arts world, I valued security because I didn't have that as a performing artist. I valued the concept of benefits and a regular paycheck and something that was consistent so I could move forward building my life. So having that time to really reflect on what's important to you. As an artist, I'm still creative and I'm very entrepreneurial and I appreciate that autonomy. So those are some of my other professional values that I wanted to honor in my new career. Additionally, I really needed to give some thought to what were my strengths beyond singing and beyond being a professional musician. And I unearthed the fact that I write really well and that I communicate well. And I say this with humble confidence because these were things that came natural to me, but they weren't things I was necessarily using as a musician on a regular basis. So it was really joyful discovering these strengths that I got excited about and was particularly good at. And that was energizing.
Well, now you know what values you want to honor and which strengths you want to build upon in your next career. But there are 1,001 options there. How do you figure out exactly which career is right for you?
Yeah, I hear you. It's like going to a brand new restaurant and they've got 200 things on the menu. Where do you start? So you ask questions and you might say to the waiter, what do you recommend? Or what's really good? I like chicken. What are your thoughts? And I think that process of asking, and in the career world, we call it informational interviewing. It's really important for all of our listeners to know you don't have to have all the answers in the beginning when you're contemplating something new or different. Ask questions, be curious, explore, and talk with people that you feel are interesting and find out about their journey. It's a process, as you said, and it didn't happen for me overnight. It's a lot of trial and error and trying to figure out what you like. I will also give you another scenario similar to the menu in a restaurant. So let's say you're in a brand new shoe store. You're going to try on many different pairs before you find one or even two that you like. Walk around in those shoes. And I'm using that as a metaphor in the career world. Learn a little bit more about something before you invest in that pair of shoes.
Did you try out a few pairs of shoes before you struck gold with career consultancy?
I did. So I'm very lucky in that I live in a university town. I live in Bloomington, Indiana, which is the home to Indiana University. And my husband is a faculty member here. So this has always been our home base. And it's actually my alma mater as well. So I started out first working with students and helping them as an academic advisor. And while I like that and I enjoyed helping people, that was a value and a strength that I identified. The minutia of working with academic scenarios and helping students plan their schedules did not excite me as much as the career realm. And I accidentally discovered that helping students have those career conversations, that got me excited. So that led to a progression of other careers at the university in the career development world that eventually led to my consulting practice. So absolutely, I tried on lots of different shoes.
I love that you didn't just reflect on your options, you took massive action and tried a bunch of things. So, what is it you're doing now that you're most excited about?
Yeah, it's a great question, Sumbul. I think for me, I'm still a performer. So the opportunity to speak in front of groups as a national and an international public speaker just ignites my passion. So my message is different. I might not be singing to my audience. I'm speaking to my audience, but the ability to stand up in front of groups of people and engage them and excite them and share and educate them really energizes me. And again, I say this with humility, but because I'm a performer, I think it's important to captivate an audience and energize them as well as educate them and entertain them. So for me, that's my sweet spot.
Looking back, what are some of the lessons you've learned that you would like to share with those of our listeners who are starting anew with a brand new career or business?
Absolutely. Don't be afraid to fail forward. And I say that because I think women in particular are so afraid to try something new and take a risk because they think, I'm not ready. Well, let me tell you, you're never ready. Just try it. I fail all the time. I take pride in that, and I learn something every time I fail. It's a great lesson, and it's a great opportunity to try something new and different. And I'm more willing to take a risk now because I know it's okay. Not everything is going to be ideal, and I'm okay being uncomfortable. So that's the great lesson. Don't be afraid to try something. The worst thing that could happen is you say, okay, I'm never going to do that again. I learned something from that. That's a good lesson.
That is a great lesson. And is that the advice you would like to give to old Caroline at Career Crossroads?
I would say try more, be willing to get in there and try things that you think you're not ready for. Again, there's this fascinating Western philosophy of I'll do it when, I get the raise, or I'll do it when I have the perfect partner, or I'll do it when I'm perfectly ready for that because I've earned that degree. I hear this with a lot of women contemplating having children. Well, I'm not ready. And I don't have children, so I can't speak to that from experience. But are we ever 100% ready for anything? I don't know that we can answer that. It's okay to not be perfectly ready. Try something because it has potential. That's something that I live by now.
These are such good strategies that anyone starting anew can learn from and apply. Now, Caroline, a lot of our listeners are wannabe entrepreneurs. What do you think are the 3 things that they should focus on as they embark on their entrepreneurial venture?
Well, the 3 things that I think are the most important, Symbol, to say is, again, take a risk. Really understand what your strengths are, how you bring value to your service or your product, because I get it. As an entrepreneur, my product is my service, whether it's my public speaking or my writing or my coaching. And have confidence and be willing to talk to anybody about what you do well. But lastly, solve problems. So how can you help someone else solve a problem? I think that's the success to any entrepreneurial venture.
Who or what has been most instrumental in your entrepreneurial success? And how can that help our listeners?
Well, I think one of the things that I want everybody to know is that I achieve my entrepreneurial success, and it is a continued journey. So I'm not done, right? It's a process. It happens because of the people that I surround myself with on what I call my board of directors, my team. And I say board of directors not like a corporate entity that I convene once a month, but these are people in my network whom I reach out to for help and advice and wisdom. And likewise, I pay it forward and help other people. So number 1, don't be afraid to ask for help. Very successful people ask for help. That's a smart thing to do. Great leaders ask for help. And I've learned that people are so eager and willing to help me, and I believe in the responsibility of paying it forward and helping others. So if I can help anyone listening by serving as a coach, as a mentor, I've got a lot of material that I put out into the world on my podcast and my blog and my video series, and much of that is free and public domain on my website. Please use it. I'm there. I want to help you.
Starters, that marks the end of part 1 of my interview with Caroline Dowd-Higgins. All the resources she's talked about and links to her website, her podcast, and YouTube channel, you'll be able to find them on the show notes for this page at letstartanew.com/13. Now, Caroline talked quite a bit about the importance of self-reflection and self-awareness. And I have to agree with her. If you want to start anew in life, you have got to begin with self-awareness. Download your free self-awareness toolkit at letstartanew.com. Don't forget to tune in on Wednesday for part 2 of my conversation with Caroline Dowd-Higgins. Until then, take care.
Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Start Anew Show. We invite you to be more than a passive listener. Be a starter. Join our community and snag exclusive freebies from Symbol and her guests at letstartanew.com. Create your vision of freedom and fulfillment right here on the Start Anew Show.